Um, Shalom, everyone. So, in my Bar Mitzvah Parsha, in Parshat Bo, um, towards the end of chapter 12, when we are given all the laws of Pesach and Rosh Chodesh and the Jewish calendar and everything else, it says, "Ve'haya ki amru alechem b'nachem," and it will be when we'll see that there's other ways to translate that word. When your sons or children tell you what is this work that you're doing, labor. And so it sounds like an oxymoron. Yomru alechem b'nachem is they're making a statement. They're not asking. And in the Haggadah, we'll see that this question is actually the one that's attributed to the Rasha, to the evil son, or the one that's rebelling. And so that might be also part of the answer to why it says say, as opposed they're already making a statement. They're not really interested in the answer. And this isn't the verse that we quote for the smart son. The Chachama Omer, so the wise son says, "Ma ha'edot v'achokim ha'mishpatim." This is in Deuteronomy. I think Parashat Vayetchanan, but I'm not 100% sure. And so it says, "Ki shalcha bincha machar lemor mazot." When in time to come, because obviously machar doesn't mean tomorrow, literally. Your children ask you, what is the meaning of the decrees, laws, and rules that Hashem, our God, has commanded us? And then V'amarta levincha, so then you have the mitzvah to say, to answer the son by describing the Exodus, etc. So this one makes a little bit more sense. It really is written in the Torah as a question, and he really does want to know. And so the answer is Avadim, which is the next paragraph after these four questions. So just one more reference before we go into the actual halacha. I'm always amazed at how Rabbi Judah the Prince made the order of the Mishnayot and therefore even inside a certain Masechta. So I would think that when somebody, God forbid, wants to divorce their wife, that would not be the second last Mishnah of the book. It would be at the very beginning. And instead, the very beginning of Gittin talks about a get that's already written, and it comes from abroad, from outside of Israel, and how much can we rely on it, and the witnesses and all that. But the discussion is on the last page of the Masechet, so I think it's either the last Mishnah or the second last Mishnah. And so Beit Shammai say a man may not divorce his wife unless he finds out about her having engaged in a matter of forbidden sexual intercourse. One of the most beautiful things in the Mishnah is that Beit Shammai always say their opinion first, especially when there's a debate between them and the school of Hillel. And that was one of the things that they showed, even though we disagree with you, we'll give you the right to say first your opinion. And so Beit Shammai say that only if in a case of actual cause for divorce, and we'll see, we're not going to go into the whole thing, but Beit Hillel says, even if she burnt his meal or oversalted it. And Rabbi Akiva says, very surprisingly, even if he found somebody more beautiful. So I'll just concentrate on that last one for a second. Rabbi Akiva's opinion, it's not, God forbid, that somebody can do what a lot of people have done in the 20th and 21st century of finding a newer, more prettier model to their wife, but rather, according to Rav Tzuriel, if somebody is already thinking of another woman, he should divorce her because it's not appropriate for him to continue making her suffer where he's thinking about another woman and thinks that she's more pretty. And I think that that's a good twist because in Judaism we're not supposed to divorce only because we find somebody else. And so the words that are used in the Torah is ki matzah ba'aretz v'adavar, the word ki, and im lo timtzah menav. And so Reish Lakish says, scrolling down, again, this is the last page of the Masechet, but the Reish Lakish said that the word ki serves to be translated in four different meanings: if, perhaps, rather, and because. So today the most common one that we use is because, right? I did this because of that. It's what's called cause and effect. But there's also if and also when, meaning that maybe this child will ask you the question. That's what we're talking about. And also Ella, rather, which is a little, I think, the rarest of them, but there also sometimes is because it's not to say that we always have the cause and effect. The Torah doesn't usually give us the reason for the mitzvah. So sometimes when it says ki, then it means if or perhaps. So there is a mitzvah to tell the story of the Exodus by way of question and answer. As it is stated, when in the future your child asks you, say to your child, we were slaves to the Pharaoh in Egypt, and that's in Devarim 6:20 verses 20 to 22. It is likewise stated when your children ask you, what is this service to you? And that's actually the simple son, mazot. Say it is a paschal sacrifice to God. And when in the future your child asks, what is this? Say to him, with a mighty hand God took us out of Egypt. And that's also in Shemot. So questions open the heart and mind to accept answers. The message we need to convey on the Seder night is so important and fundamental that we are commanded to transmit it in the most effective way by way of question and answer. This is the main reason for the unique mitzvot of the Seder night: eating matzah, the paschal sacrifice, and maror. They cause the children to ask manishtana. If it were up to me, there would be a few more that we can add, because there's an Ashkenazi opinion that we're not supposed to eat the sheep for the Seder night because it reminds us of the Paschal lamb. But if that were true, then we shouldn't be eating matzah or drinking wine. And I don't think that our children ever saw us drinking 4 cups of wine in one night. So that could also be another one to ask, why is this night different? And helps them understand that this is a special night whose essence, or which essence, must be understood. As a result, the sages instituted several unusual practices in order to inspire children to wonder and inquire further. We begin by giving the children nuts and roasted grain, through which they realize that this is a special festive night. It was also to get them through the Haggadah without munching on the matzah before its time. The sages instituted washing hands and eating karpas dipped in a liquid after kiddush, something we never do throughout the year, even though technically when you eat pickles and you're touching the brine because of safety reasons, the rabbis said that you had to wash your hands, and that's why we do it for the karpas, because we dip it in the salt water. But really, around the year, we should be either eating with a fork, or if we are touching liquid like that with our hands, we should wash our hands first without a blessing. Furthermore, instead of starting the meal at this point, we pour the second cup of wine and remove the Seder plate and the matzot from the table. It doesn't really have to be removed. There's a lot of people who just cover it because of what Rabbi Herzfeld explained last week. We don't want to shame the matzah that we're not using it, almost like what we do in Kiddush on Friday night. All to cause the children to realize that this is a very special night. They will thus truly be interested in its meaning, and they will sincerely ask, why is this night different? My father used to have a little like a shissel filled with water, and he would take off his shoes and do as if he's crossing the Red Sea, and that was one of the highlights of the night for the children. Perhaps it can be said that this question, Manishtana, embodies a bigger and deeper question about the Jewish people. Why are we different from all other nations in our faith, in our mitzvot, in our suffering, in our spiritual achievements? in our exile and in our redemption. There is no complete answer to this question. Only by contemplating the exodus from Egypt and the election of Israel can we understand that this is a divine matter. We are capable of understanding part of it, but we will never understand it all. The rabbis do say in the time of the Mashiach, all the questions will be answered. But one of my rabbis explained that you'll just forget that you even had the question because it will all be so simple and clear how it came to be. This same question spurs us on toward infinitely deeper and more sublime understanding. Perhaps this is why the Torah instructs us to tell the story of the Exodus and of Israel's singularity using questions and answers. The ideological basis of Jewish peoplehood lies in a question that opens us to an endless profusion of ideas. If we do not impart the Torah and the story of the Exodus to the children, no new questions would be asked, and we would be unable to continue rising higher. And so we'll stop here and open up for questions.